Hello my friends, welcome back. My name is Tomitladi and this is my world of programming. Well, in our previous video, video number 4, please, if this is the very first time I'm bumping into any of my videos or this YouTube channel, I would urge you and ask you to subscribe. And if there's a video that you find interesting, please give it a like. If you do have any comment, do not shy away asking question. I'm here to share my knowledge and what I have learned, my expertise, particularly on this system, cover the shoe. So if you do have any question, feel free to leave them down below on the comment section, right? So in a previous video, we were looking at the trickiness of the edit page. Now, this is a random new topic, video number 5. We're going to talk about 2-in-1 projects in web, right? So we're going to focus on this project, cover the shoe underscore web. So what does it mean? All right, so let's get into it. This is going to be more of, I'm going to tell you why I decided to have a 2-in-1 versus in all my previous projects, I would separate ASP.NET Core MVC, make it a standalone project. And I would have, in the same solution, I would have ASP.NET Core Web API as another standalone project, right? And you know how difficult it is. So this is the first disadvantage of it. Do you know how difficult it is to maintain 2 separate projects? I want to know from you, have you ever worked on a project or a system, particularly in the space of .NET, where you had to separate the frameworks, have MVC that side, have WebAPI that side? What was the experience like? Because then, this is the most important thing. I'm going to move away from what I'm doing to probably in projects that are more of AI. Do you understand? Because I have a couple of ideas, targeting a couple of companies bringing different solutions. So I want to go in there. If I were to build a prototype, it's going to take a long time for me to put together a prototype if I separate those frameworks, MVC on the left, WebAPI on the right. But this brings that enhancement of make sure that the development time for the prototype is quicker if I do it this way. And I learned a couple of things. So let's get started. So this, if you were to start to do this, let's first do terminal, no, view, command palette. In fact, let's do this. That's a very good question. How do I start a new project? Okay. I would say .NET new project. Yes, new project, right? And then you would go with, I would go with ASP.NET Core MVC. Where is MVC? I don't want the empty. I never go with empty because I want the identity system already bundled in. gRPC, no. Web API, no. This guy, MVC. I would go with this one, right? I would start with this one, give it the application, and then enter, and then I would choose. So that's how I would start, right? Now, how I went about it on Cover the Shoe, there are a couple of things that you need to know. The NuGet packages, whatever NuGet package I had to bring to this project, I had to make sure that I do my due diligence when it comes to studying. For example, let's go to dependencies, let's go to packages, and then let me make sure that, okay, for example, AutoMapper, this one, AutoMapper, it can target both frameworks, right? So that's something I had to be aware of. So I'm using AutoMapper. Azure for storage blobs. I'm gonna make a video of how I upload, directly from the MVC to Azure storage, and how I allow the mobile application to upload from it all the way to Web API and to Azure storage. So if you wanna see how I went about it in this system, please make sure that you let me know down on the comment section. And Firebase admin. Now this is very important. So what will the Firebase admin be? It's responsible for push notifications, right? Because you need that. And then we have now Microsoft ASP.NET Core authentication JWT bearer is for mainly JWT bearers tokens, and also help with Azure, or rather sorry, Swagger. Entity framework core, and diagnostics and identity UI, SQL Server, and then tools and code generation to design. Then we have a Quest PDF. It's something I'm using to generate PDFs. We have a Sentry for logging. I'm using Sentry for logging, both on the platforms, and I'll show you. And then Serilog for ASP.NET Core. And then these are the things specifically for ASP.NET Core. And then I'm using Swagger, Swashbuckle for ASP.NET Core. And then Sync Fusion for MVC. And this one I'm detecting if is the end user on my website using a tablet, or are they using a smartphone, or are they using a browser like a laptop or computer. So these are shareable, meaning that they can target both MVC and a web API. So furthermore, my structure is this: areas. You see this folder called areas and identity and pages. Everything in here, it's MVC. You do not touch this. This is identity system. There's no web API involved here. This is identity system. This is where you will have the login page, your register. You will have because I have more advanced stuff like add phone number. You will have to verify the phone number when you log out and so forth. So this is MVC, right? Then automapper. You see now this automapper, right? It's a folder, because I like a folder structure, right? So what I do here, basically, for the client, I need to know, am I going to work on this as MVC or as web API? So you will see this, that whatever that's in here, it's for MVC, right? And then here, let's go to shoes, you see that there's a for API support, which is for mobile app, and there's an MVC support, right? So this is how I go about it. Normally you will see inside the folder, is it API or MVC, right? So let's get out of automapper. Then contracts. These are specifically for web API. This is the most important thing. Especially this is the most important class, API routes. And then this underscore V1. I'll probably make a video about versioning. Inside the folder of API, you would see a folder called V1 or V2 or anything underscore V1 like automapper. Let's go to shoes again, API, V1. You see categories underscore V1 profile. Do you understand? Everything is V1. There's a reason why. We'll make a video about that some other time. And so these are the contracts where the requests are coming in. These are the responses, right? So this is API. This is web API specifics. Controller, it's for both. Now I have for Azure Functions. So these are specifically for Azure Functions. I do have Azure Functions project. If you want to learn, it makes my life easier. I don't have to do certain things manually. I just allow the cloud to do that for me. Good. And then I have, let's see, this for MVC, API, and MVC. So here, when it comes to MVC, I think I did show you news feeds. So this is for MVC specifics, and I do have news feeds, but for the mobile application, which is via web API. And again, now let me tell you something about controllers. You need to remember a controller. Let's do example here. Let me increase the brightness so I can see clearly. This is the most important thing. This is the name of the controller, right? News feeds. But you can't do this. This is not allowed. Because when it comes to versioning, especially for the mobile application, this is not allowed. You can't say the next one's going to be V2. This is not allowed. Then it's not a controller. I wasn't aware that it's not a controller, right? But leave it like this and you only change V2 here, makes it a controller for the next version. I hope that makes sense, because this was a tricky thing, right? And obviously, all my API controllers, they inherit from controller base, whereas a normal MVC, it just is a controller inherited from controller. So that they're different and serve a different purpose, right? So that's something that you need to be aware of, very, very aware of. So we're done with controllers. The installers, it's for the system, entire system to set up this project. Models, API, because here I'm dealing with, if you're sending requests via Swagger, you know what, speaking of that, let's see. Let's run the project in the meantime, run without debugging. So these ones are specifically because if I need to do something, error request model, error response model, right? It's when you're trying to test the web API. So I'm telling you, hey, I'm requiring this. There's a specific way that it's going to show you. All right, we'll come back to it. Then services, again, that targeting or Azure functions. So you see for Azure, it's for MVC. I'll come back to it. And this one, MVC, this one, both the API and MVC, right? So these are the services. Utilities, these are for the entire system, right? So they are generally available, right? So this is that famous class, the global variables. Hey, there's a lot that goes in there. I'm sure there's about 500 lines of code. And then we have a view models. Also, the view models, I need to know, is it for MVC? And these are just a general home view model, send email view model, send SMS view model, right? But I need to be able to know, is this for MVC or not? So I don't just dump everything in there. Then I have just the views, you know about the views, right? And then I have WW root, everything about MVC and App Center, and there's a secret thing. Global usings, it's for both of them. We did take a look at this one where I say everything that comes here, it's going to be specifically for API, and from here all the way going up, it's going to be for MVC. So this will be the generals, this for data access layer, and this will be for all the entire system, right? So this is a two-in-one proper folder structure. So the app is running. I don't care about this. I care about Swagger. So this is my Swagger, right? Now, you should know something about Swagger. If I go to program class, Swagger is only for development. So don't worry, it's not accessible in production. Do not worry. And this is the most cleaner project, the program class you could ever see. Cleaner. Because I moved everything to installers. This is where the secret comes in. Right. So here I want to make an example. Let's say, if you try to log in, you see it's requiring email and the password, and you say try, but you do not give it anything, right? I believe this is how it's going to throw an error. Execute. Yes, there we go. So you see that the models, on the models, there's error request model and error response model. It's responsible for showing me that the email field is required and the email field is not a valid email and the password field is required. So even if I were to do something like this, it will still now refuse, at least on one thing, to say the email field is not a valid email. So this is what helps the web API, hence the folder API. I hope so this makes sense, right? The most important thing, like with something I'm working on currently, which is having my clients, you know, the people I'm going to do business with, the people that own shoe cleaning services, like physically, they have a physical places where they work at. Because remember me, I'm mobile, but I'm targeting people that, you know, they have a storehouse, a storeroom somewhere in their yard. That's where they clean the shoes. I'm helping them to be exposed to all my customers, right? So for that, I'm working on the clients for MVC, right? So here it is, and also here it is, right? Where I'm bundling everything here, where they get to add business info. They can edit them. They can add trading hours, view trading hours. They can edit them. and then they can also add contact info and so forth. So this is MVC part, but there's also support for API, right? Now the API, this is for mobile application. So this is something I finished yesterday, right? Where the mobile application will just request all the businesses for V1, right? I can do the iteration for V2. So when I make the changes on the version number 2 on the mobile application, so this is where now I'll just say, I will add a new file in here. So the way I'll go about it will be API controller. I will just say businesses underscore v2, then I will say controller, and I will just add. So this will be v2, but the most important thing is it will be under folder API, and I will do the same thing, but I'll make the necessary changes. Maybe this will also be v2, the response that's going back to the end user. If you want to learn about the web API, specifically how I went about it with a real life demo, please make sure that you let me know down below in the comment section. So this is the Swagger, this is what the mobile application will need, everything here. I'm just giving you the glimpse of everything. Like even the uploads, how do I upload the shoe image? How do I upload the receipt? I'm still gonna make a video about that one. How do I deal with the put? It's a tricky part. How do I make the changes to something? And how do I post? And then how do you pass in the user ID or should request ID and so forth? So this is cover the shoe, and this is 2-in-1 project. It's easier to maintain, like I just showed you with the example of businesses, the most recent feature. It's easier to maintain, but do not make mistake. Do not make mistake. If you were to separate them and make an MVC project that side, Web API project that side, it's difficult really to maintain. Really difficult to maintain. So if you haven't subscribed, subscribe. If you haven't shared it there, please share it. If you wanna learn more about how I went about building Cover the Shoe, you can let me know down in the comment section below. Until next time.